So the question is being asked as we are winding down in Q2, what are we to expect from the rest of 2020 for e-commerce sales? My name is Heather Roberts and I am the co-founder of RSG Sales. We are a dedicated e-commerce account management firm, and I'm also the creator of Profit Powered Growth, which is the program that teaches suppliers how to grow their e-commerce sales channel. So let's get back to the question at hand. What do we think sales will look like for the rest of this year and going into 2021? Um, and I think it helps us to look at where we were in 2019. So in 2019, e-commerce accounted for 17% of all retail spending. Prior to the pandemic, e-commerce spending was expected to be around 20% in 2020. However, due to COVID-19, that number has jumped to 25% in just 6 months. So I think, we need to think about then how will this impact your sales for the next 6 to 12 months? Well, last week, my business partner and I were on a call with a prospective client. And as part of this conversation, the company asked us to give them an estimate of what we thought their business would be or where it would be for the rest of 2020 and into 2021. The company was very clear and clearly stated that their goal was to double their sales. And that also included their bump from the pandemic. So, we said, okay, thank you. And I think, we kind of took a step back and we said, I think everybody can agree that e-commerce sales has had a huge impact from COVID. And just alone in anecdotal evidence, we have a client in RSG Sales who did an entire year's worth of business in the month of May alone. But to think that that is sustainable is just, it's a pipe dream. That immense spike in sales is not a long-term growth strategy. This is an anomaly. So, and we can back that up by noting that sales for June have already begun to slow down and soften, and I think that's to be expected, for July as well. In return, we actually said to the prospective client, we think it is a much more realistic plan to account for a 30 to 40% growth in your e-commerce sales for the next 18 months. And so let me kind of explain our thought process behind that. So as COVID-19 did kind of change the trajectory of e-commerce sales. In the jump from 17% to 25% is clear evidence of that. In an earlier video, I had mentioned that the virus and pandemic were going to probably catapult e-commerce sales 5 years, and I actually think that is a very realistic possibility. But I don't think the sales that we saw from March to May are the new norm. Instead, I think the e-commerce sales channel is in the midst of a reset. We do know a couple of things. We know that online consumers are shopping more than ever, and we know that it won't be long before e-commerce represents 50% of all retail spending. So I think when we look at this and we're planning in the long-term basis, I think in 2025 it's very realistic to think that e-commerce sales can represent 50% of all retail sales. Prior to the pandemic, I would have said it would have been more like 2030 before that had happened. But just because of all of the changes, I think 2025 is a real legit goal, for folks to kind of think about. So then how do you go back and really think about and plan for your growth for 2020 and 2021? Well, what we are saying and recommending is go through and take your sales from last year and increase them 30 to 40%, and say that's what I'm forecasting for this year and for 2021. So and if you want to use this year's numbers, from January through end of June, and part of your calculation, just make sure that you take your sales for March, April, and May and actually back out and put in your numbers from last year and add 30 to 40% to those, because I think that's going to give you a more realistic look of how that's going to be in the long term. So if you have any more questions about kind of how you can reset your expectations for having a better baseline for budgeting and forecasting, don't hesitate to go to rsgsales.com, click the button to book a call, and we'll jump on and help you come up with a game plan. All right. So help everybody have a great day, and we'll talk soon.